All right, good morning, guys. Welcome to episode 3. I was thinking long and hard with regards to what I want to show you today. And I think I'm going to concentrate on the selection tools as well as some additional layer manipulation, just to enhance your workflow using Photoshop. All right, so to begin, I'm going to open up a basic JPEG file. I'll use the 2.8 JPEG again. And this time, I'm going to select the bottles using a slightly different technique. Now, the technique that I'm going to use will utilize what we call a Lasso tool, which is the second tool on your toolbar. You can also access the Lasso tool with the L button. And if you press and hold on the Lasso tool, you will see 3 different lassos. The first one is a lasso tool, second is a polygonal lasso, and the third one is a magnetic lasso tool. Now, some people call it lasso, some people call it lasso. In case you don't know what a lasso is, it is the thing that cowboys use to catch their cows. Okay, after all, this is an American product. So it's only fair that they use terms that they understand and like. Right, now if you also notice that on the right hand side of the toolbar, you have 3 L's. Now the reason why they are all L's is because it is a cycling shortcut. So if I press the L over and over again, it can literally change the shortcut key. Let me show you. L. Oh. There we go. You have to press the shift button, yeah? Press shift and L, and it will change between the 3 lasso tools. This one is a W. It doesn't have options, so it only has one thing. This one has only 1. This one has 5 actually. So if I press shift J, it will cycle through all the different tools for you. Okay? Also pay attention to the top bar over here. This bar will change with each tool. All right. Think of this bar over here as modifiers for the tool. So if you want to use a lasso tool, let's say a standard lasso tool, and you want to change functions, you can press all of these things over here. Each of these things have specific functions. I will, if we have time, I'll go through each one of them. But it's not really necessary right now. Right now, you just need to learn how to use one tool a day. And today's tool is the magnetic lasso tool. So let's go ahead and select that. And let's begin. Now, to use this tool is actually pretty straightforward. You need to click on the side of the image once, and then move the mouse in the direction of the outline. And if you look very carefully, you will see that Photoshop is actually making a selection following where your mouse is and following the outline of the object. Now, this method is actually very accurate. It's not the most accurate option, but it is pretty darn accurate. And as you can see right now, Photoshop is having a problem. All right, the bottom part of the screen doesn't have enough contrast, so it is actually letting go, and that's fine. Now, to finish doing this, you need to come back to the beginning node. That's called a node right there. And you will see a 0 or a circle appear next to the icon. See? No circle, circle. Now, straight away, what happens is you have made a pretty nice selection. Okay? But it's still not perfect. It still requires a little bit of refinement. Excuse me, guys, I've got some messages. I'm going to mute my phone. Sorry. Okay, phone is being muted right now. Okay. All right, so if you look at the bottom here, I'm going to zoom in. You can see that there are problem areas. This one is not enough. This one is too much. So to use the lasso tool to fix this, I'm now going to select the normal lasso tool, which is the top one, and I'm going to press shift. Now, if you notice when I press shift, it becomes a plus lasso tool. And what happens now is I can literally select an area like this, and then it adds to the selection. All right, this is called a selection, and it's adding. All right, if I press Shift, it's plus. If I press minus, oh crap, sorry. If I press Alt, it becomes a minus. And minus works in the opposite direction, so you select the area that you don't want, and it deletes. All right, Shift again, and I'm going to select the area that I want. I'm going to keep selecting the area that I want. Notice I'm doing it quite roughly at this moment in time, because this is just a example. If you're doing this professionally, you will need to take a lot of time and get the best result that you can. All right, okay, let's look around. Let's go around and look. By the way, to move around the page like this, you need to press the space bar. Press the space bar and your cursor becomes a hand. Space bar, hand. And now you can use the mouse to move around the frame like this. Okay. All right. Let me see. Yeah, I don't like this area. I'm going to remove that. I don't like. Yeah, I think the bottom is pretty fine actually. Okay. So the next step now is to refine the edge. In fact, from now on, the refine edge option is highly recommended for all your selection processes. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to smooth the edge. As you can see, the edges, well, become a little bit softer. Now, this is perfectly fine if you're doing color correction and grading. There's not an issue with that. Okay? But if you're doing compositing and cropping, this is not enough. This is just too shoddy work. We won't go into that right now. We will do that slightly later. Okay, I've made a selection. I'm happy with that. What's next? If you can remember, that's right, Control J. Okay, and then you can do whatever you want to enhance the bottle. Now, if you look carefully, this gives you a much better result. Look at the bottom of the bottle right here. It looks so much neater, so much cleaner. You can literally make it, well, that's beautiful. That is pretty acceptable to me. Okay, so that is the Lasso tool. Just to recap, you have the standard lasso, which is on top. You have the Polygonal lasso, which I'll demonstrate in a while. And you have the magnetic lasso tool. We just use the magnetic lasso, and that is the one that I want you to practice next. I'm now going to show you a polygonal lasso, and the polygonal lasso allows you to draw straight lines. So if I'm selecting a line like this, okay, if I want to go in straight lines, of course, in this case, it doesn't work, right? If you're selecting boxes, that shouldn't be a problem. Notice what I'm doing right now. I'm just selecting the table area. Control J. And that's what I have selected. By the way, I did the selection while I was in layer 1, which is why you see a mistake. If I was in the background layer, and I did this, I would get the correct one. Again, even a pro like me makes mistakes. So don't be too hard on yourself. That is a selection that I just made. I can now adjust whatever I want. I can play with the bottom. I can make it brighter, etc., etc. But if you look at the end result, that is not very nice. Well, in any case, I leave it up to you to choose which tool to use for the application. All right, so that's the tool part done. Now we're going to talk about layer manipulation. But before I go into layer manipulation, I want to talk about this part of the frame. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you will see this tag over here, which says document, and then it says 51.3 megabytes / 67.3 megabytes. All right, so the first number is the size of the original file. Okay, the second number is the size of the file plus the layer. Remember that we added a layer? That's right. It now has increased the size of your document to 67.3 megabytes. Let's duplicate layer 1. All right, and to duplicate it, select layer 1, press Ctrl J again. Look at the number. It has just gone up to 83.3 megabytes. Let's try this out. I'm going to duplicate this layer 100 times. That may kill my computer, maybe not. I'll do 10 times. You know what? Let's make it 50 times. Let's see how far it goes. All right, 55 times. Congratulations. Your document is now 47 megabytes. Now, a lot of you are probably going to be saying, wow, sir, so big. Why you want to do so big? Okay, let me explain. When we do photo retouching, okay, I sometimes can make 40 to 50 layers per object. For example, this vintage black. I could put the words in one layer, Kenneth Cole in another layer, this white box in one layer, just the top of the bottle in one layer, the highlight on this side, the highlight on this side in one layer, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Remember, we are doing professional work. We are doing retouching. Retouching means we are making the object even more beautiful. For example, if you look at the top of this cap over here, you will see a blemish. All right? Now, that blemish needs to be removed. In the perfect world, I would actually ask the customer to give me a brand new bottle to shoot. All right? But this is not a perfect world. This is me using my own perfume collection to demonstrate. So I will need to use Photoshop to remove all of these blemishes. Okay? Now, I'm not going to teach you what tool to use. You can experiment with it if you want. But like I said, that is a topic for another day. Retouching is another topic. Okay, so if you look here, you've got 55 layers, 947 megabytes. Now, how do we optimize these layers? The answer is very simple. We can select layers like layer 55 and right until layer 51. To make this selection, you click on 55, press Shift, select layer 49. I have selected, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Crap, let me do it again. 7 layers. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge these layers together. I'm going to squeeze them together by pressing Ctrl E. All right. Oh, hang on. Did I press Ctrl E? Oh, hang on. My computer just hung. Like I said, guys, even on a complex thing, it can jam. All right. So yeah, let's try it again. All right, let's just try 3. All right, it turns out that the layer has jammed. Well, in any case, if your computer is working, you can select the layer that you want, press Ctrl E, or you can right click and select merge layer. See merge layers over here? Right. And what's going to happen is those 3 layers are going to be combined. Now I'm going to try and save this document by literally deleting every single layer that I want, and hopefully it will come back again. Okay, so that's basic layer manipulation. Now we're going to talk about some additional tips which we can do to improve our workflow. Tip number 1. Do you see the background layer over here? Yeah. I normally don't touch the background layer. I leave it there. That is my master layer. That is my original. I can go back to that at any time. Instead, what I do is I press Ctrl J and I make a background copy. I then hide the background. Now, the reason for that is because if, let's say, I make a mistake, I make a boo-boo, I don't like what I'm doing, I can select the top 2 layers and delete them and start again. Okay? Another way of doing that is to go to the File and Revert function, or press F12. All right. The problem with the revert function is this, that it deletes everything and starts from the very beginning, which I never do. All right. I just need to delete layers and remove layers and move layers around. Okay. All right. So I know I'm speaking quite fast, but the good thing about video is you can actually pause and rewind what I just said and try it out for yourself. Okay, so now that we are almost coming to an end, I want to teach you just two more tricks that we can use to make proper selections. This time I am going to select the white area of this bottle, or otherwise known as the label. But this time, to demonstrate, I'm going to zoom in as close as I can so that you can see how the magnetic lasso works. So let's select the magnetic lasso like that, and then let us begin to go around the edge. So just click it once and move. Now you don't have to move very quickly. You can move as fast or as slow as you want. If you make a mistake again like that, don't worry, we can actually, like I said, delete it later. Okay, so let's just zoom, 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 go all the way down, go all the way around. Notice it's magnetic, so even if I miss the line slightly, Photoshop is saying, don't worry, I will help you out. Now this is great if you're selecting high contrast regions. This is a high contrast region, all right? I'm selecting something that's white while it's sitting on black. Okay, that's a pretty nice selection. Now I could do two things. I could go back to the lasso tool like this. I could press minus and I could delete that. All right, that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to literally just copy the layer out first, like this. This is the chopped layer. And then using the eraser tool to just rub it off, like that. Also can. So I think you're beginning to realize that Photoshop is just a tool. How you use Photoshop, that's another story, okay? So as you get more advanced, as you learn more tools, you will come up with a workflow of your own, a style of your own that is fast. And this is the key word here, guys. When you work with Photoshop, and if you want to earn a living from this, not only must you be good, you have to be fast. So shortcut keys are important. Start training your mind to use them. Try to remember where the tools are, where the dialog boxes are, and don't rush yourself. If you notice, one tool a day, within 100 days, you are going to learn every single thing in Photoshop. Now, that will make you a master of the software, but it may not make you a master of the technique or the workflow. That one comes with time and with practice, yeah? All right, so that's a new layer. And right now, I can take that layer, I can Control L, and I can pop it out. All right, look at that. Okay. So now if I take this photograph and I show my customer, it's going to look fantastic. It's going to look unreal. It's going to look gorgeous. This is how an original photograph would look like. This is a photograph with vintage black, the label popping out. And if you look at this right now, you will begin to realize that all commercial photography has been retouched. None of those photographs are original. Everything has been touched and edited in some way or form. Okay, that is the magnetic lasso tool in action. That is the standard lasso tool in action, and the polygonal lasso tool in action. Here is the last tool for today. I know it's getting a bit long, but I want to show you this last one as well. There is another way to select the white area. Okay, and this way is the one that I use quite often as well, especially if the area has a very flat tone. So I want to show you. Go to the select option on top, and then you select color range, move this dialog box just beside it. Now move your mouse onto the white area and click select. All right. Then I want you to slide this bar, the fuzziness bar, all the way up. All right. You can change the selection preview to grayscale, and it will show you what you are selecting so far. So if you look carefully, the white part of the image is what I am selecting right now. Okay, the top part here looks pretty good. I'm selecting all the whites up here. The bottom part here is not so good. It's a little bit dark. So to add this, I'm going to click the plus, and I'm going to click here as well. That's way too much. Go back. Slide the fuzziness until it gets to the point that you like. All right. I like that. I have selected the vintage black box pretty much. Change this back to none. Click OK. Now click Ctrl J. Okay, so if you click Ctrl J, you will see that literally that is what you have selected. All right. You have asked the computer, can you please select all the colors matching this area over here? And what the computer has done is given you everything, which is not what we want. Instead, what I want to do now is I want to delete everything else and leave the vintage black alone. So to do that, I am going to use the Polygonal Lasso. I am going to start drawing a box around vintage black, like that. And then I am going to press Ctrl J again. And this time, I only have the vintage black. This earlier layer, we can delete. We don't want it anymore. We just want this vintage black, and we want the background image. Now, if you look very carefully, if you look at the photograph, your eyes are telling you, hey, this is white. Okay? Well, it is white. It looks white. But if you remove everything else, you will realize that that white is not actually white. It's actually gray, as you can see from here right now. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is color perception. Yeah, you will begin to realize that when you start retouching photographs. White isn't white. White is what you perceive it to be. All right, so let's do a Ctrl L on this layer, on this new layer that we did. And let us bump it up. Okay. And that looks pretty darn good as well. What is the difference between this one and this one? Well, let me demonstrate. This one, we have selected the entire square block, including the black words. This one, we have selected only the white. The black words in the background are transparent. All right. If you look at the word black, you can see that it is transparent underneath. Okay. And the reason for that is because sometimes I may want to change the color of the black words at the back. See what's happening? I'm now working in the background layer. I'm clicking on a new tone and I'm making the words even blacker, even whiter. You can do whatever you want. Okay? See? It looks a bit weird, but I think you understand what I'm trying to explain. Making your correct selection is important if you want to retouch stuff. Okay, let me just recap. This is the label, including the words. This one is just the white part. And this is your background, which I have thoroughly screwed up. All right. I can Ctrl Z to bring it back. Okay, so Recap. Today we learned 3 tools. I advise you to open up a project of your own and play with it. Learn how to use that. We have learned how to make new layers based on these tools. We have learned how to minus, add and minus from it. Okay, just to show you. If you press Alt, it becomes minus. You can minus from it. If you press Shift, you can add. You can add to a selection like that. Okay, all right. We have learned that layers are staggered on top one of each other, but you can literally select parts of the layer or the image by using the select and color range function. Okay, let me just demonstrate again. Turn this on, select, color range, and then you can specify whatever color you want. You can also specify the blacks inside if you want. See? Okay, Control J that. And look at what happened. The computer has selected only the black, the really black blacks in the image. Okay, now again, let me just do a quick lasso tool. I'm going to select just the words vintage black, Kenneth Cole, blah 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 down here like that. Okay, I'm going to press Ctrl J again. I'm going to delete this layer and see what happened. I now just have the text. So what if I were to colorize it? I can now change the color of whatever I want. Unfortunately, we did not select it properly. If you look at the bottom here, we've also selected quite a other tone. But I think you get the idea. This is how retouchers work. We select a region and then we change it. We enhance it. We make it more beautiful. We make it more colorful. All right, so that is the episode for today. If you don't get it, it's fine. Just rewind the video and go through it slowly. Every tool that I have shown you, I would recommend you play with it, master it. Tomorrow we will move on and we will learn to do some additional tools over here. I think we will learn how to use the dodge, burn and sponge tool as well as the blur, sharpen and smudge tool. And these are key photography retouching techniques which I will explain tomorrow. Tomorrow we will work on a different photograph. I need to find a photograph. I may take a photograph of my face. It's one of the rustiest faces you will ever find. That'll be a very good platform to learn how to touch up. All right. Thank you and see you again, guys. Adios.